So how's everybody doing? It's Hank, Ricky, and DJ, and Josh, of course. I put my hands in the wrong direction. So welcome to another Two Birds and a Third football podcast. This is going to be our special on the NFC South and the AFC South. So we're going down south for this one.
Yeah.
Great intro, Hank.
Sponsored here by Mickey's. Buy malt liquor that gets you drunk quicker.
It also explodes in your refrigerator or your freezer.
Spontaneously combusts.
Hey, thanks everybody. We're here again. Like Hank said, we're doing the special here. I think we're gonna start with the NFC, guys. You guys want to start with the NFC this time?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So let's go ahead and we're gonna start with the NFC South. We're gonna go in the order of the division and how it was for last year's records. So to start off, DJ, you're gonna start us off with the Falcons. You're gonna get just for a little rundown, so those that know. You're basically just gonna do a brief synopsis of the team. You're gonna think about a win-loss prediction, whether it's I think this team's gonna be this good or this bad, or my prediction, whatever. 3 bold predictions, and oh my god, I'm blanking on the last.
I think you're just talking. Maybe we're running down the schedule, right? Are we gonna run down the schedule?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's start off with this one. A brief synopsis of what the season was for the Atlanta Falcons is what every NFL meme that has been brought out with the 28-3 meme. That's the synopsis of the season. I mean, you're up almost 4 scores here, and you're below the Super Bowl. So what happened? What happened to the Carolina Panthers after the Super Bowl? It's big hangover.
Yeah.
Big hangover.
Yeah.
But I don't see that happening with the Atlanta Falcons. I think they have a mature quarterback, more mature team. I think the defense, as long as it stays healthy, is going to really help Matt Ryan and that very potent offense that is the Atlanta Falcons. And that's one of the main reasons why the Atlanta Falcons are not going to do as bad as everybody thinks because of the Super Bowl hangover.
To be fair,
you have Matt Ryan, you have Julio Jones, you have that double-headed backfield. It's a recipe for success. And as long as the defense brings up maybe a top 15 performance, there's no reason why they can't go 11-5. And that's my prediction for the Atlanta Falcons. I think they're going to stumble early, but they're going to pick it up. But they're like the Dodgers in the playoffs. They just can't seem to get it done.
That reminds me more of the Dallas Cowboys than it does the Atlanta Falcons.
To be fair to the Carolina Panthers, they were in the same position as the Atlanta Falcons. Like, nobody thought that they were going to have a slump. Like, because going in, they look like the beyond favorites to win that division again. With
weren't they
10 or 11
15-1
wins.
that year?
What?
Weren't they like 15-1 that year?
The Panthers
Yeah, they were 15-1.
Yeah.
So they were like the overwhelming favorites. And here's the thing, like, coming from a fan of a team that's lost the Super Bowl in their lifetime, everyone was picking the Eagles to win the division in 2005. But what happened was, this didn't really happen to the Falcons, at least. Their starting wide receiver begged for more money. Their starting wide receiver got kicked out of training camp, did sit-ups in his driveway, and the team had injuries and fell apart. The biggest thing is the injury bug, to me, when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons. Are they going to stay healthy?
But that's the thing, Hank. There's nothing that has gone on. No injuries reported. Nothing from camp. There's literally haven't been a story really coming out besides right now. And that's what I wanted to bring up is the trade possible for Joe Hayden. As you guys probably already heard, the Cleveland Browns are aggressively putting him on the trade block. Like, he's not only on the trade block, he's like already halfway being traded. They're just trying to get him across the threshold at this point. Obviously, the Browns are only going to get maybe might be worth the first round. Might get a first round. It might be a second round pick for him.
It's possible. I feel like.
If Atlanta is that desperate to put themselves over the top,
that's their weak point right there. Ricky, is the cornerback position. And that's what they're trying to bolster right now. And that's why I think the Atlanta Falcons are actually going to do well this year. Not a lot of distractions. Cam Newton is a distraction in its own right. So that's why I bring up the Carolina Panthers in a different light than what the Dan Quinn Atlanta Falcons are. Dan Quinn comes from a system. He made the system. He made the Seattle defense what it is, and it's never been the same since he's left.
No, he didn't.
So I have full confidence in his capability to not suffer the same fate as the Carolina Panthers.
That was Gus Bradley.
No, it was Dan Quinn.
No,
Dan Quinn was before when he left the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
He was the defensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, and the Seahawks,
when he went to
the Seahawks,
and he was there, and he was there for the 2 Super Bowls.
I know, but the Seahawks were still 11-5. In that,
that's what I thought the Atlanta Falcons are going to go as 11-5.
I know, but the Seattle Seahawks were 11-5 when Gus Bradley was the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, but no, Dan Quinn.
So I don't
was a defensive coordinator when he went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know, but
yeah, that's what I'm saying is that Dan Quinn knows how to run a defense. Is what I'm saying. That's my main point.
By far, yeah.
I have full confidence in Dan Quinn going in there, and I guarantee you, everyone on that team has full confidence on him as well. There's no Riverboat Ron. I mean, he kind of rode the coattail of Cam that year, and Cam Newton is a distraction. So if Cam's feeling bad, the whole team's feeling bad. You got Matty Ice behind the quarterback there, all right? Matty Ice is Matty Ice for a reason. I think they're going to just steady the ship, steady the course. But I think we should move on to the next team, though.
Well, before we do, okay, so you say they're going to go 11-5.
What about their loss at offensive coordinator?
That is a wild card there, all right? That is a wild card. I will tell you that. That's one question mark.
I think it helps that you have Matt Ryan and Julio Jones and Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman because
I mean, at least they have the infrastructure. I mean,
exactly. You just need someone to harness it. I don't see that offense sputtering as much because too much talent. There's too much talent. All Matty Ice has to do is throw the ball down the sideline, and Julio Jones has like a 70% chance of coming down with the damn ball.
Okay, so what are your 3 bold predictions for this season?
My 3 bold predictions: Joe Hayden gets traded to the Atlanta Falcons. Also, I guess everybody thinks they're going to be a hangover. Another bold prediction for me to be 11-5, and I think Julio Jones is actually going to miss a lot of time.
Wow.
I think he's going to get hurt again.
He always plays through injury.
I know, but that's a problem too. You know, he played through injury, and not really for Brett Favre, but anyways, those are my bold predictions. I think they're going 11-5. Do they make it back to the Super Bowl? I think they make it to the divisional round, and if they're lucky, they'll get back to the conference championship. And if you call that a hangover, that's a pretty damn good hangover.
See, here's my thing. I think Atlanta is going to go somewhere around 10-6, 11-5. And the only question I have is whoever they run into the playoffs is going to determine how far they go.
Yeah.
If they go, I mean, like, if they go up against a team like, I don't know, like the New York Giants, they're going to. I'm not saying I think they could beat them, but I mean, I guess it all depends on matchups for certain teams. But that's besides the point. So, anyone else have anything else in regards to the Atlanta Falcons? Who do you think, or like, how do you think they're going to do? I think personally, 11-5, 10-6 is my record.
That's mine.
I think they might.
Yeah, I think they're up there too.
I think they might be 10-6, but I don't think they're going to win the division. I think that, but at the same time,
I think the Buccaneers are going to win the division this year.
At the same time, last year I thought that the Carolina Panthers were going to be 10-6 too, but
yeah.
I mean, I can see your kind of opinion on the Carolina Panthers, but they had like what looked like the best defense in the NFC. They had what looked like the best up and coming quarterback in the NFL, and they had what seemed to be like an unbeatable running game. But yeah, we can move on.
Who knows? So let's go ahead and move on. So the next team we're going to talk about is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which Hank is going to be covering for us.
So,
right now.
I guess the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have come as a bit of a surprise to me because for the last few years, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been by far the worst team in that division over like the last 10 years. They've been by far the worst. They've been the only one of those teams not to go to a Super Bowl. They had Lovie Smith, and it was looking like he was going to rebuild that team, and they cut him because they thought that Dirk Cutter, their offensive coordinator, was going to get a head coaching job, which we all thought like, oh, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to suck now. But last year, they went 9-7. They quietly 9-7 too. Last three out of 4 meetings against the Atlanta Falcons, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have won. I mean, they swept the Atlanta Falcons in the 2015 season, and they've picked up some very talented players in free agency with Deshaun Jackson from Washington, Chris Baker from Washington. They've re-signed Chris Conte, brought in Nick Folk at kicker. So, adding Deshaun Jackson to the already talented Mike Evans, this is a team that has a lot of firepower on offense, especially.
Plus, you have Jordan Reed when he's not getting concussions too. Jordan Reed's one of the best tight ends in the NFL because he's basically like a wide receiver at tight end for you.
He's on the Redskins.
So you have that as well.
He's on the Redskins.
And don't you have the law firm?
Jordan Reed's
don't you have the law firm Austin Seferius Jenkins on the Bucs?
I think Austin Seferius Jenkins was a cornerback, right?
No.
Or a defensive end?
I thought he was the tight end for the Bucs.
No.
By the way, you're right. You're right, Ricky. Jordan Reed plays for the Redskins. I forgot.
Austin Seferius Jenkins, plays for the Jets, I think. Right?
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I mean, O.J. Howard as a draft pick in the first round was a godsend to them. They're looking like one of the better teams on offense. I don't really know the status of their offensive line because it's very hard to analyze an offensive line. I also know that the Buffalo Bills are trying to trade LaShawn McCoy, basically selling the house in order to rebuild. And I hear that the Buccaneers are a team that might be interested. But I don't know. I don't really know why a team would really trade for LaShawn McCoy because, again, like, you're a young team. You want to basically get capital for your team. And I guess for the Bills, it would be smart.
But LaShawn McCoy's a top 3 running back in the league every year with all-purpose yards.
No, I know. But at the same
time, but he's getting more wear and tear on his body, and he's approaching. What is he, like 29 or 30? So why? Like,
you guys are saying that, and they've said that about him for the last 3 years, and he'll miss 2 or 3 games with a ankle sprain, and he'll still come in third place.
No, I know.
For most all-purpose yards.
I know. I like LaShawn McCoy. I just think.
Shady's my boy every year.
And that's it. He drafts him. I swear to God, I tell him every year. That's way too early for LaShawn.
Yeah.
That's way too early.
And what does he do every year for me? Puts up tons of yards.
Yeah, he puts up yards. Right.
I get the point. That's all that matters.
But Chris Polk vultures touchdowns.
Yeah, that's third down back.
But
Hank, we all know about the vultures, the Matt Asiatas.
Yeah.
Chris Polks. We all know about the vultures. Yes.
If I'm the Bucs, there is no need to trade for LaShawn McCoy. It's not that he wouldn't necessarily fit. Yeah. It's just that, number one, do you really want an aging running back? I'm not saying the guy's talented. I'm just saying the dude's almost 30. Yeah. Not only that, you would have to probably give up a first or second round pick. Are you willing to do that?
No.
And not only that, the 2018 draft class is loaded at running back.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
And you have Doug Martin.
Yeah.
You have Doug Martin.
Yeah, that too.
You have Doug Martin. That's who you could trade upright for LaShawn. You might have to get draft picks for him. If you could trade Doug Martin, because he's a younger running back.
But why would you trade Doug Martin, who already has injury problems, for LaShawn? Why would you why would the Bills want Doug Martin if it seems like they
Get
would
rid of
rather...
the contract.
What?
To get rid of the contract. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah,
Brady's still in the division. That whole division's been tanking for the past 3 years.
But if they trade for LaShawn McCoy, they're going to get LaShawn McCoy's contract.
Yeah. They don't want LaShawn McCoy's contract.
Because they're
going to have to pay their guys soon. They're going to have to pay their Mike Evans and their Jameis Winstons and stuff like that.
What's he set to make this next 2 years? Because he's signed a 4-year deal.
He's still one of the highest paid running backs in the NFL.
Yeah.
So
all right.
But I really do. I mean, if there's one team that would take LaShawn McCoy, I have heard that the Buccaneers are one of those teams.
So what do you have the Bucs doing, record-wise?
So I have the Bucs going 10-6 as well. Whether that wins the division, I have no idea. I mean, I have both. The NFC South is always so difficult to call because I do like the Falcons, even though I think they'll also be 10-6. They'll have a bit. I think they'll have a bit of a Super Bowl hangover, but I still think that they'll vie for, a possible playoff position. Whether both teams go to the playoffs, I have no idea. But yeah, I have them going. Yeah, 10 wins for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I think but however, do not be surprised if this team goes 11-5, 12-4 because their schedule is relatively weak.
And I've said it earlier. I think they're winning their division. I think they win the NFC South. The Bucs do.
Yeah, I think it's got to be the Falcons for me. But Hank, what are your 3 bold predictions for this team?
My 3 bold predictions is that I think Jameis Winston is going to throw for 30. My first one. Now, this is not what I think. This is a bold prediction, and DJ taught me this. So, Jameis Winston.
They're going to win 7 games in a row and then lose the last game of the season.
Jameis Winston is going to throw 35 touchdowns.
35 touchdowns?
Yeah, he's going to throw 35 touchdowns. I think that O.J. Howard, I think that he is going to be the first 1,000-yard rookie tight end in a long time.
You think he's going to get 1,000 yards receiving as a rookie tight end?
I do. And then my final prediction is... I think if Josh Huff is still on the team, I think Josh Huff is going to take it to the house twice. Kick return.
Because it's Josh Huff?
Yeah, because it's Josh Huff. And by the way, Josh Huff, thanks a lot for, carrying illegal firearm in New Jersey. I know you're from Houston. Everyone from Houston carries guns, but
everything's more dramatic in Jersey.
Right. Everything, but again, I really do like the defensive backfield for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I've always liked Chris Conte as a safety. I think that what's his name, the guy that they picked up, Hargraves, right? I think he's going to be decent. I like Brent Grimes. I know what is it? Brent Grimes' wife is an awful person or something like that.
She's Mama Jama, but it's fine.
Oh, she's all about those cuss words.
but I think that's what's going to help carry the Bucs to winning this division.
She's still very good looking.
I think they have a very competent offense and defense. I think they're a very well balanced team.
Okay, so before we move on to the Saints, what do you guys think the Bucs are going to do, record wise?
I think the Bucs can go 11-5 or 12-4. They could. They have, like I just said, they have the talent on both sides of the ball, and I just think they can do that easily.
I don't see what you guys are seeing in the Bucs. I think in their best bet, I think they're an 8-8 to a 9-17.
Okay.
I think the Falcons are the class of that division.
Okay.
Let's.
All right, so we're moving on.
So let's move on to the Saints. So, looking at this Saints roster, pretty much the Saints team it's very intriguing because theoretically this team than advertised, but because Drew Brees goes to throw 5,000 yards every season, this Saints team is always somewhat in contention for the playoffs, but it's like they're so close yet they're so far. And considering that Drew Brees is getting up there in age, I'm not expecting. I'm not going to expect. Like, how do I word it? It's like I think Drew Brees is not going to throw for 5,000 yards again, but mainly because he's putting so much wear and tear on his arm, and considering he's like 38. I'm not expecting him, to put that kind of numbers. I think he could still put up 4,000, but I'm not expecting him to throw much more. So they did add Adrian Peterson to that roster. I think that's more of like a flashy move. I don't think it's going to help him much. You know what I mean? So, just sticking on track. So when I look at the Saints roster, at best case scenario, they're a 10-6 team. Worst case scenario, they're a 6-10 team. It's mainly on how they rely so much on Drew Brees. If the ball doesn't bounce a certain way, they're going to lose a game or they're going to win a game.
Yeah, they could go either way. That team, we've seen them have the seasons where they'll do it like that. They'll have one season where just like you said, they go 6-10. The next season they go 10-6. Like, it's just always a flip flop with that team because they rely so much. I think Adrian Peterson may help with their run game, but I don't know. Do they have a good run game coach there? I mean, the Saints aren't really known for their run game. Adrian Peterson's not really known for his receiving out of the backfield. So I'm interested to see how that will work.
I actually want to bring this up. So a guy in the comments section, how about them Cowboys? He asked, does Brees retire after this year or does he go for a payday? I personally don't know, but don't be surprised if he goes for the payday for like a big mass 1-year extension deal or franchise tag. Because here's the thing. Drew Brees is at the tail end of his career. He doesn't mind flinging, the ball. But here's the thing. The Saints are still in rebuild mode, okay? So I'm not expecting much from them. But like I said, if defense could come to play and Drew Brees doesn't have to end up throwing for 5,000 yards in order for them to at least manage a mediocre record, I would expect this team to get into playoff contention. However, I'm expecting, my personal prediction is 8-8, 9-7. Don't be surprised if the ball bounces a certain way. I mean, I still don't know what this defense is going to do. I don't know who they have as the replacement for Drew Brees yet. I don't know what they're going to do. But as of right now, the squad has the capability of winning 10 games, but that's if all, cylinders were firing. So bold predictions. So we can try to, because we have a whole other division to go through. So first bold prediction: Drew Brees doesn't throw for 5,000 yards. I don't. It's mainly because I just feel like something. I think it's just the way that team is. I don't think he's going to be required to throw for 5,000 yards, considering also he's up there in age. I don't know how long that arm's going to hold up. Another bold prediction. This is mainly just me being ridiculous. Adrian Peterson does not rush for over 500 yards.
Oh, wow.
And for my final bold prediction, I have the Saints defense actually being like a mid-tier defense, like top 16.
That's a really bold prediction.
That is
a very bold prediction.
That is a bold prediction.
That's like
again, that's why they're called bold prediction.
Well, I think the biggest issue.
I think that people being worried about Drew Brees' arm. I don't think he's ever shown any signs of his arm deteriorating at all, and he's so accurate. And so precise that I don't even know if it matters if he can't throw it 40 or 50 yards. He'll still dice you up and chop you up in those short to intermediate to, then ins, outs. I mean, he can hit all the throws. That's the thing. So
yeah, and you look at his yards after catch for his receivers, you'll notice that his receivers do a lot of the work for him in getting those big yardage. So he's never been a guy that's going to go deep on you. He's going to throw over the seam, and his receivers are just so damn fast and lengthy that they're just going to burst through that and get 70 yards, a 70-yard touchdown over the middle.
I do have to bring this up because I think the Saints did a smart thing with this. They got Drew Brees. You got Drew Brees more protection with the addition of one of the tackles in the draft. Name I can't remember off. Ryan Ramczyk. That's.
Isn't he injured?
What?
Didn't he get in? Didn't somebody's off? Oh no. Lamb on the Chargers got injured. My bad.
Okay. Yeah. See, here's the thing. I think that what they're doing is pretty smart. You know, you don't. At some point or another, you got to start thinking about the future. I think they're going to start thinking about that. I think at most you're going to get another year out of Drew Brees after this year, and he'll probably look at retirement maybe, or who knows. But
he's a Tom Brady dude. He's a Tom Brady guy.
But I'm sorry, but I just think that if I don't think Sean Payton is on the hot seat, because you got to keep in mind I would give it another year before you start thinking, Sean Payton on the hot seat. I don't know why people want to put him on the hot seat way too early.
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly what's happening in John Harbaugh. These are two coaches that will have a coaching job right when they leave if they were to get out of Baltimore or New Orleans.
Yeah.
These coaches would have a job, no doubt.
They just gave John Harbaugh.
So we can move on. So we can move on to the Panthers and what Josh is going to cover. Final predictions. Yeah. So I have the Saints going 8-8. Yeah.
I have the Saints going 9-7.
I have the Saints going 8-8.
Hank.
So like you guys are telling me you have like the Panthers going like 6-10. I'm guessing.
No, I said 8-8.
No, Hank. Just because you're all in the same division doesn't mean you can't all be hovering around nine wins. It just matters how you're going to do in the division.
Yeah. I mean, look at the NFC East. The NFC East had two.
I have the Saints. I have the Saints going 8-7-1.
Oh, edgy.
Don't
Who's the tie against?
Wait, hold on.
Tie against?
Wait. Who's the tie against? What division does the Saints play? Do the Saints play?
NFC South.
They play the West.
What do they?
What
play?
AFC division did they play?
What AFC division?
Yeah.
They play. It looks like the AFC East.
Yeah.
The Dolphins, the Jets,
the Patriots.
They're gonna tie against the Jets.
I think they're gonna.
knew it.
No,
okay, so
I think they're gonna tie. I think they're gonna tie against the Dolphins.
I could see that.
Yeah, I could see that. All right, so let's move on to the final team of the NFC South, and that's going to be Josh, the Carolina Panthers.
So the Carolina Panthers, they were so close to winning the Super Bowl, kind of, but
not as close as the Falcons.
Yeah, had a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover last year, but this team. I mean, it has all the God-given talent in the world. You have two of the best linebackers in the game in Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis standing right next to each other in the middle of that defense. Guys like Star Lutulele, and I mean, just all around that defense is good. You got Riverboat Ron, who's a team guy. I don't think he might not be the best technical coach, but sometimes you don't have to be a good technical coach. You just have to get the guys, going. And then on offense, you have Cam Newton, Kelvin Benjamin. You just picked up Christian McCaffrey in the draft as well. I think this team has all the potential in the world. But that being said, I think that they're going to go 9-7 this year. I just think that this year's schedule, it's just a tough schedule this year. And I don't see them doing that well in the division this year because of the Falcons and the Buccaneers. I think those guys match up better against the Panthers, especially after they did not retain Josh Norman. I think that had a huge, huge impact on their defense. And so I think that's affected them in this division, especially with all you have three of the top passers in the league in that division in Jameis Winston, Drew Brees, and Matt Ryan. I mean, right there.
Here's the thing. With this division, any of these teams are in play to win it because, like, the Panthers are one of, if not one of the under the radar teams of 2017, because many people are not expecting them to do good. So don't be surprised if this team actually comes back up and possibly wins the division. I mean, you can say that for any of these teams, for that matter. But I mean,
right. And that's why it's just our prediction, because I mean, if we were to all trade divisions or trade teams in this division, and each of us were to do one of the teams, we would probably all have different records from what the other one did for that team. Because this division can just go that way. I mean, it could be the Bucs, it could be the Falcons, it could be the Panthers, it could be the Saints, and they're all probably hovering right around, like I said, that 9 to 11 win, category. Either any of them could go from 9-7 to 11-5. Any of them.
Yeah, I mean, when they first started the year off 1-5, a lot of people thought they were going to do a lot worse, but then they went back up on the uptick, and they ended up winning 5 more games onto their season. So, I mean, I just think that this team needs to reestablish itself, and I think they're going to be able to do that. Me personally, I have them going 9-7. I mean, I don't know if they'll make the playoffs, but again, I think that people are underrating how close the NFC South really is. And a lot of and that's the hardest part. I mean, and considering when we go to the next division, that's going to be even more harder to predict.
The NFC,
because
the NFC West is the most competitive division. If you say it might not be the toughest division or the toughest division to win, but they are the most competitive division in the sense of every year another team wins the division. Or every year, the team that won the division has a losing record the next, or
Are you talking about the NFC South?
Yeah, the NFC South.
Yeah.
Every year,
I agree.
that the first place team has a losing record the next year, or they don't win the division the next year.
Yeah.
Well, we'll move on to my bold predictions for the Panthers.
All right.
I have Christian McCaffrey getting at least 1,500 all-purpose yards this year, easily. I think he's gonna do it. I mean, they're gonna use him. They can use him at everything.
I'm curious, Josh. What do you think he's gonna have more, receiving or rushing?
It's gotta be rushing.
It could be receiving. Who knows how they're gonna use him? They can line him up anywhere. That's the thing. So that's why I put all purpose, because I don't want to guess how they're going to use him. Because it could be that he racks up a ton of yards on screen routes. He's small. He's elusive. He's quick. He's perfect for a screen. Who knows? He might end up getting 3 punt or kick return touchdowns this year because he's quick and fast and stuff like that. So I think 1,500 all-purpose yards from Christian McCaffrey, definitely.
Okay. What's another one?
I think the Panthers are going to go 9-7, but I think that they are going to be swept by both the Falcons and the Buccaneers in the division and split with the Saints.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think they're going to win a lot of games outside of their division this year. I have them all written. So
Any other ones?
Cam Newton's going to – it's not a bold prediction. Well, I guess it is. I think Cam Newton's going to score 15 rushing touchdowns this year.
Holy crap!
15?
My bold prediction,
over here.
my personal bold prediction was going to be that Cam Newton returns to the Pro Bowl.
Oh, that's not that bold.
That's too easy.
That's
too easy. But
Ricky, have you heard of a bold prediction?
Bold, okay?
Okay,
Doritos over here, Ricky. Doritos.
Wait, timeout. At least I'm not predicting for the Steelers to win majestically 7 games in a row and lose to the Browns and not make the playoffs.
That's what the Browns do. We stomp on the heart of the weak ones in the playoffs, make sure they don't go. That's what we do.
I'm sorry, did the Browns make the playoffs?
I don't know
or
if
they didn't.
You mean like how you beat the Steelers last year? Week 17?
Hey, Hank? Hey, Hank?
What?
Philly, what did they do? Hey, Hank?
We've had a winning record.
What's going on in Philly?
We've had a winning record this century.
Hey, Hank, the Browns haven't lost a game this season.
Wait, I'm just curious. When was the last time the Browns made the playoffs?
2000. Oh, you should know this. 2002.
Okay.
Jeez, I was only 5 years old.
Yeah. Well, they should have made the playoffs in 2007, but the damn Titans had to finish with the same record as them, and for some reason they picked the Titans over the Browns. So.
There's not some reason. There is a mathematical reason why they did that.
It was because the Titans had a tiebreaker over the Browns, and the Indianapolis Colts decided to play Jim Sorgi at quarterback in Week 17. So it was an easy win for Vince Young and the Tennessee Titans, while the Browns beat on the 49ers but didn't go to the playoffs.
Derek Anderson is our quarterback. Derek Anderson and Kellen Winslow Jr.
All right, so before we move on, let's do final predictions for the Carolina Panthers. So I got 9-7.
I got 9-7 too.
You guys?
I have 7-9.
Hank?
7. I mean, I basically have to pick 7 and 9 because I don't think. I mean, just looking at it, I just don't think that. I don't think that there's going to be all the teams being 8 or 500 or above. So I'm going to pick 7 and 9.
Yeah, I mean, look at some of the people they have to play this year. Hank, are the Packers, the Vikings. Obviously, you have to play the Bucs and the Falcons twice. The Eagles, the Lions, the Patriots, and then I have them losing the first game of the season against the 49ers because no matter how bad the 49ers are, they always win the first game of the season.
Is that game going to be a Monday night game?
I don't know.
Okay, so let's go ahead because this next division is going to be a lot of discussion. Yeah. The AFC South, arguably one of the most competitive divisions in terms of record-wise. I mean, you could say, whatever. But anyway, so last year, Texans won the division, in essence, by default because of the injury to Marcus Mariota, but that's a completely different discussion. So, to start off, we got to start off with the Houston Texans, in which Josh will go ahead and talk about the Houston Texans.
Well, the Houston Texans obviously know that they were ranked number 1 in overall defense last year. Now, that's yards per game overall defense. That's how the NFL does their equating. But, they do have a good defense, and that was without J.J. Watt. So knowing that he's coming back this year, knowing that that defense is going to basically stay the same, you haven't really lost too many key pieces of that defense. You've only really added to it. I think that they're still going to have a great defense. I think that what's really going to hold them back is their quarterback play. I know they moved up to get Deshaun Watson, which is, in my opinion, if you move up to get somebody, you better be starting them. That's my idea. If you move up in the first round to get somebody, that is your starter. No questions asked. That's who you need to start if you're moving up to get someone. I don't think they're going to start him week 1. I don't think he's ready to start. Even though he's been in those big game moments, I think eventually he will mature into a good starting quarterback for the Texans. But I think this year is going to be a developmental year for them. I have them going 7 and 9, even though they made the playoffs last year. And that's because, like we just talked about, this division is so tough. And depending on how, people in their division come back, Marcus Mariota, I'm not really too worried about him because, as I've said before, he broke his fibula, which is the non-weight-bearing bone in his leg. The tibia is the one you have to worry about. And I've broken my fibula, and it was like 4 weeks before I could start really moving, kind of getting back into the motion of things. So he's had plenty of time to recuperate from that injury. I think the Titans are going to win the division. I think that the Colts, depending on how Andrew Luck has gotten, he's getting better. Healthier, let's hope so. When he's healthy, he's always someone to watch out for. And then the Jags, I think that Blake Bortles is not very good, but maybe with Leonard Fournette and the fact that you just have so much offensive weaponry and a young, strong defense, I think that they could do an 8-8, 7-9 dance as well. But I have the Texans going 7-9 and miss the playoff.
See, the thing with the Texans is that they are legitimately one quarterback away. Like, if they have a competent quarterback, hypothetically, if they had like an Andy Dalton or an Alex Smith, I could imagine this team making it as far as the AFC Championship game, because think about it, they have one of the best defenses in the league. Alongside, they have a solid running back in Lamar Miller, a solid receiving core. The only thing they're missing is that quarterback. And if, let's say hypothetically, Deshaun Watson shows up, if Deshaun Watson can at least be average at most, that team will be a threat in the AFC. However, if Deshaun Watson ends up busting, this team will end up wasting the prime of J.J. Watt and all their key players, and then it will be a little too late for them. Me personally, I have them going 8-8. I have them missing out on the playoffs, and I mean, I don't have any much more to say. So I'm not sure what you guys have.
That's why I was making that point of that. I think this year is just going to be a down year, but I think Deshaun Watson can be good. I don't think he's ready. Maybe let him sit behind Tom Savage and let Savage start the first couple games of the season. If he really doesn't do well at all, then you put in Deshaun Watson. But there's nothing wrong with sitting back and learning. Learning.
I'm not as keen on having a rookie start immediately. Like, when Carson Wentz was drafted, I wasn't really... I was somebody who didn't really care in the fact that we had Sam Bradford. So I was like, we'll probably have a 7-9 season anyway. But I think that if he sits and he earns his position, if you know what I mean, like if Tom Savage doesn't do well and he's showing weakness, and then the new guy comes in and he shows what he has. That's what Dak Prescott probably would have done, because Tony Romo might have gotten injured during the season if he hadn't gotten injured in the preseason. I mean, that's what Eli Manning did, and the Giants traded up for Eli Manning. Phillip Rivers wasn't a first-day starter either, and he had a long stretch where he was consistently winning the division. I mean, I think that Watson is probably better than Savage, but I mean, I don't know. The Texans,
right. Well,
the Texans
here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Seem to be a team that changes quarterbacks a lot.
I believe that. I believe they're going to go 9-7 or 8-8. It's just a given with this team, man. It's kind of one of those places where you're like in that no man's zone where you're not really mediocre, but you're not really that good. You know, it's like
you're not bad, but you're not good. You're just
you're just there. And I think this is just one of those franchises that is like that, you know, and that they'll burst on the scene once they find a quarterback. Hopefully, Deshaun Watson does that. That's what I believe. And here's one of my little bold predictions for them. Bill O'Brien will be on the hot seat after this year because they're going to go 8-8 or 9-7 again. They go 9-7, they might squeak in as a wild card. But I think the AFC is going to be pretty tough this year.
I don't think he's going to be on the hot seat.
The only reason he's not on the hot seat is because of how Deshaun Watson's going to turn out.
Yeah, it's also because,
that's the biggest thing right there. Yep.
It's also because he's one of the better coaches that they've ever had. I mean, they went 9-7 with Ryan Fitzpatrick. They won a division.
Yeah.
They won a division with Brian Hoyer, Brandon Weeden, those guys at quarterback. So.
But I will say this, though, before we, move on. If Deshaun Watson hypothetically ends up starting, and he's all that he's advertised, he ends up being a solid QB, this team can win 10 to 11 games. It's just, it matters on quarterback play. And if quarterback play can be somewhat competent, this team has the capability of winning. Let's just say hypothetically, the quarterbacks end up performing well. This team can win 12 games, at most. Yeah. I know that sounds like a reach, but think about it. They have a top defense, solid pieces on offense. It's just that quarterback is going to limit it. So at the end of the day, I have them going 8-8, missing the playoffs. So what do you guys?
They're also down their number 2 wide receiver, too.
That is true.
I have them missing the playoffs.
They're missing the playoffs at 8-8.
Okay.
9-7.
Okay. So
well, they do have to play the Patriots, the Ravens, the Cardinals, the Seahawks, the Chiefs, the Bengals, and who's another? And the Steelers.
Yeah,
all of those teams can definitely.
Yeah. Oh no, dude, I completely agree with you. I'm just saying, like, if the team's on all cylinders, you know. So with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to second place Houston Texans, and that's Hank going to be covering that.
I mean the Tennessee Titans.
No, I'm Houston Texans. Second place is the
Tennessee Titans. The Houston Oilers.
This one's for you, Wes. Hank, you better give a good podcast for Wes. Right?
They suck. The Titans suck.
So again, I'm reviewing the other team that really in the last 10 years hasn't been performing that well until last season, where again, another team that mysteriously went 9-7 under the radar. Another team that got rid of their former head coach, the Wiz and Hunt, and now their head coach's name is Mike Mularkey. What's with this Mularkey?
Oh my God, that's gonna.
But basically, they drafted Marcus Mariota, number 2 in the draft. Andy Reid told Ken Whisenhunt that he was a good quarterback, so that Chimp Kelly couldn't trade the farm for Marcus Mariota. And last season, Marcus Mariota had a really good season. And now that they have a really good offensive line, they've got surprisingly actually a really good defense. They added a few weapons. They had DeMarco Murray last season. They
have DeMarco Murray, and they have
Derrick Henry.
And they have Derrick Henry, and I think Derrick Henry's really good. Plus, they just drafted Corey Davis.
Yeah, Corey Davis.
He's been hurt by a hamstring, but they still have Corey Davis.
The guy that I think a lot of people wanted, Corey Davis, and their wide receiving core is stacked because they've got Eric Decker, Harry Douglas, they've got Rashad Matthews, and they also have. They have
Delaney Walker.
They have Jason Morrow and Delaney Walker too. I'm like looking at this wide receiving core and I'm thinking to myself like, someone's gonna get traded because they have Harry Douglas and they have Rashad Matthews. It just seems to me that someone from there.
I personally think that the Titans did a fantastic job 2 years ago when they traded that number 1 overall pick to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Well, excuse me. I have to be more specific. The Rams, because there's 2 teams in Los Angeles now. But in all seriousness, though, when them getting a top 5 pick and them being a near playoff team, and that turning into a solid wideout for Marcus Mariota, that was a fantastic job. Yes, time will tell if this pans out. But theoretically, they legit had nothing to lose with that pick. I mean, yeah, it's a top 5 pick. But, I mean, Tennessee is a borderline playoff. Well, was a borderline playoff team, but them adding these pieces, in my opinion, makes them a playoff team. I have them winning 11 games, making the playoffs as a division winner.
Exactly. Not to mention, they basically brought in like the second coming of Devin Hester with Adoree Jackson, who can play quarterback and wide receiver. They're a stacked team. They really are, and if I'm a Titans fan, I'm excited for what they're going to put on the field because, they already have a stacked defense. They already have really good players on that defense. Don't they still have London Fletcher? Is he still on the team, or is he?
I don't know.
Oh no, Brian Orakpo, not London Fletcher.
Yeah,
Brian Orakpo is still on the team.
I'm excited. Hank, I'm excited that one of our best friends is a Titans fan because I'll have an excuse to watch a Titans game every Sunday.
Yeah, same.
Exactly.
Yes.
And Hank,
Wes,
Hank, I'm actually going to go throw a flag on you.
Okay.
Did you just say London Fletcher?
No, I said, did they have London Fletcher? And then I said, no.
Okay.
London
I thought
Fletcher.
because he's been retired.
But I didn't say London Fletcher.
He's coming out of retirement, everybody.
The reason why I said London Fletcher.
Leads the Titans to the promised land.
The reason why I said London Fletcher was because I remember the Redskins had London Fletcher. He was like a really good linebacker for them. And then they had Brian Arakpo, who was also a really good linebacker for them.
No,
And
London Fletcher made his name on the Rams.
I know, but he played well in the Redskins too.
Well, it didn't really amount to anything, did it?
Well, I mean, so.
Oh.
I mean, he played
Just
for
don't
one
play
of
in
the
the
best.
NFC East, whatever you
He played for
do.
one of the best defenses under Greg Williams. You know all about him, right?
Okay, so what are your bold predictions, Hank?
So my bold predictions are Marcus Mariota will also throw for 35 touchdowns. What?
Wow.
I think Adoree.
That's not like a far-fetched number. It's not really in this day and
35 's a
age.
lot.
35 is not a lot. I mean, that could be an 30 is what average? Is that above average?
It's a lot for a run. It's a lot for a run first quarterback.
Yeah.
I think that Adoree Jackson is going to return 4 punt and kicks for touchdowns. 4 total punts and kicks for touchdowns. And I think that the Tennessee Titans will have 12 wins next season.
We'll have what?
They'll have 12 wins next season.
What did he say?
I don't know.
They'll have 12.
Somebody heard him.
They'll have 12 wins next season.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Hank, actually, Ricky, that transitions perfectly into my prediction because I think the Titans are going to go 12-4 this year.
I want to be
I'm waiting
surprised.
Where's the bold prediction that they're going to go to the Super Bowl? That's a bold fucking prediction. Let's get some walls.
I don't-
Okay?
I
All
don't
right.
think
This
they're
is what's going to happen, guys.
I don't
Okay.
think they're
I got a
going
bold
to-
prediction. Wait, guys. I got a bold prediction for you.
Championship, just like the old days.
No. This is what's going to happen. The Lions are going to be on a roll. They're going to do real good. They're going to win like 10 games in a row, and then they're going to lose their last game of the season, and
the
then miss
Browns.
out on the playoffs.
To the
Oh my God, that's
They're gonna win 10 straight games, and then they're gonna play the Browns last week of the season. Even though the even though the Steelers actually play the Browns, somehow
They're
they're
gonna
still
reschedule
gonna
the
play
game.
the Browns.
somehow reschedule the game so the Titans play the Browns as the last game.
Wait a minute. Like, wait, I thought we were supposed
You know what we'll do?
play the
We'll move the bye week for the Steelers to actually the 17th week. So the 16th week they can play the Browns, and then the 17th week the Browns can play the Titans.
This whole hurricane thing in Houston, it's gonna change the dynamic of like the Texans schedule, and they're gonna have to switch up buys. So somehow somehow that affects who the Titans play. And even though, do they even play the Browns this season?
The Texans, yes, they do.
Okay, well they'll play the Browns week 17. That's my
Yep,
bold
there we go.
prediction. All right.
whatever. Anywho, so
but
let's go ahead and move
Ricky,
on.
you're up next. You got the Colts.
Let's go on to the brain matter spewing Colts because we all know that's what's going to happen to Andrew Luck. Unfortunately, all I'm going to say is that and I had someone draft Andrew Luck in my fantasy draft like in the 6th or 7th round.
DJ had him as his keeper last year.
Yeah. Well, DJ drafted him with the first overall pick.
no.
It was before he ruptured his spleen getting tackled.
Okay, let me just so let me get back to this. So the Colts are the definition of mediocrity. It's not, and I'm not saying Andrew Luck is by any means not talented. Andrew Luck, I feel like Andrew Luck is in a position where, yeah, you're the guy and you're going to get paid all this money, but
they're
you're
not
in a position where you're going to die. Like you're like in Tony Romo's position not necessarily exactly, but like you're running for your life. You can produce numbers, but at the end of the day, it's like that team lives or dies off of Andrew Luck as of the moment. And it's not necessarily his fault. It's just that, the problem is it's a magnet.
That's how they're built. That's how they built
Yeah.
the Colts, unfortunately. And like
Exactly.
And how do you,
no,
can I ask you a question real quick? Because you're covering the Colts, and I want to know,
sure.
How do you have one of the top rushers of all time in Frank Gore, who's a future Hall of Famer, and I never hear about him since he's gone to the Colts? How do you have that guy and not capitalize on the fact that you have Frank Gore?
Here's the thing. I think that
Frank
number
Gore's
one, he
too
is
old.
older, but I'm not. But when he first went to the Colts. I had the Colts possibly winning the Super Bowl that year because it was like, think about it. You get a talented running back in Frank Gore, and like that's pretty much what they needed. And then they fell apart. Here's the thing. Their offensive line, yes, they're adding pieces, but at the end of the day, like Andrew Luck is going to be running for his life. And this team is going to end up, because I believe Andrew Luck most likely will miss the first 6 games of the season. Me personally, I have the Colts going 6-10, 5-11, and mainly because that team lives or dies off of Andrew Luck. After 3 straight, like 11-5 seasons, I believe, or like 10+ wins. I mean, they got further and further into the playoffs. They did a bad job rebuilding after and reloading. Once after their playoff runs and reaching their peak in 2014 when they reached the AFC title game against the godforsaken New England Patriots, where we all know what happened. They got demolished, but I heard the balls weren't as inflated, but that's a completely different thing. But at the end of the day, let me get to my bold prediction so we can continue. So first bold prediction is the Indianapolis Colts bold prediction. They finish 8-8, or somewhat above 500. It's a bold prediction in that no one's expecting this team to perform, great.
Well,
Another bold prediction. Andrew Luck. This is weird, but I think Andrew Luck
plays all 17
might
games.
What's that?
Plays all 16 games.
I was going to say that, but I think a bold prediction is going to be Andrew Luck gets rushed back too fast.
No, shoulder injuries. You never rush shoulder injuries.
I understand that, but I'm not. I completely understand that, but I'm not the Colts organization. No, but okay. And then final bold prediction: the Indianapolis Colts defense finishes in top 20.
Wow. It's not that bold.
Their defense?
Their defense is god awful. Like,
yes, it is. It's horrible.
Yes, sure, they added some pieces, but at the end of the day, this team is mediocrity in and of itself. I mean, they're lucky they have Andrew Luck, because if Andrew Luck was not on this team would be 4-12, 3-13. It would, in essence, be Jacksonville.
Ooh.
So that's
but with
great
discipline.
segment. Great segue.
Well, but just before we get into that, what are your guys' predictions for the Colts record-wise?
7-9.
7-9 is a great prediction. I really just have to base it upon Andrew Luck's health at this point, because if Andrew Luck's healthy, 100%, ready to go, he can make stuff happen. But he, at this point, he's kind of fragile. So I'm just going to take, I guess, the over on the fact that he's going to not be healthy, and I'm going to go 7-9.
Okay.
So I guess that leaves the Jaguars then, right?
Yeah, the dumpster fire that is the NFL. Well, it's not the Jets, but
Okay, come on. Let's not put them in that category just yet. They do have Leonard Fournette. They do have a pretty damn good defense. They've taken a lot of pieces in this past year. It just all depends on how their draft has gone the past 2 years, and we're about to figure that out. It's too easy to point out the fact that the quarterback situation in the Jacksonville Jaguars right now is worse than what the Browns have had in the past few years, and that's a pretty tough comparison considering 24 quarterbacks we started over the past 20 years.
Yeah, but the only difference is that at least you guys have a starting quarterback.
Exactly. These guys are going back from Chad Henne to Blake Bortles. Which guy could throw the better off the back of their center? That's usually what they're going for. I have to think Chad Henne's going to get the start here coming in to week 1, week 2. They're going to play. This is a total play it by ear. Whoever's going to give them the best chance to win that week, they're going to put them in. That's what's going to happen here. I think Blake Bortles' time was last year where he was should have proved himself. I think he's got a really short leash this year. and I see him. He's definitely going to play. It's just, is it going to be like Ryan Fitzpatrick last year where you keep coming in and throwing a bunch of picks? I see that happening for some reason. And I know you guys heard me before. This is my dark horse team to win the division. That was such a bold.
God!
That was such a bold prediction. I had Doritos coming out of my nose.
Let me tell you something. I have a higher chance of being struck by lightning or winning the lottery than the Jacksonville Jaguars winning the division.
Yeah, you're right. You're completely right.
Hey, so when they win the division, you better go buy a lotto ticket in the
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not shying away from that, guys. I mean, I made a prediction. I have to stick with that prediction no matter how much it kicks me in the ass. I have to think Chad Henne is he's almost 10 years in the league now. Hopefully he figures something out because they do have a slew of weapons, and this is why fantasy drafters, please listen up. Leonard Fournette is going to be one of the better pickups of the whole year. This dude's going to get more carries in a year. That I wish I had a metaphor to bring that up.
He's going to be watered down.
He's like Megara from Hercules.
Well,
weak ankles.
Oh, we'll
weak ankles.
Yeah, but they're not getting tackled usually by the ankles.
Someone skipped leg day.
Do you know who else had weak ankles? Whose career sputtered? Reggie Bush.
Yep.
Darren McFadden. Both of those guys looked great coming out of college, but what was their problem? Weak ankles.
Yes, but okay, so this is why Darren McFadden's doing a little bit better because he's more of a downhill runner, and that's what the offensive line in Dallas works well with. I think the Jaguars they're definitely an underrated offensive line. I think we've seen a lot in the preseason where people are getting rushed. I get that, but let's wait till week 1 till we condemn them. I think a bold prediction. Obviously, let's just go back on my last bold prediction that they win the division. Yeah, I know. I know. You can say all you want, but God, if I'm right, I have it on record. But if I'm wrong, which is more likely to happen, but that's one of my bold predictions. The Jacksonville Jaguars win the division. And another bold prediction, Blake Bortles throws for 3,500 yards this year.
Oh, my God. The dude can't even turn to the side of his barn.
Do you understand how many Doritos I have in my hand right now?
He couldn't.
I am going bold.
You know what?
Okay.
Blake Bortles couldn't throw a ball in the ocean if he was standing on the beach.
Let me tell you something. Jacksonville, I know I'm short, but let me tell you something. I could probably throw a better football than these two.
Yeah, I think that you have a better chance with the New York Jets at this point with the Hackman Hackenberg. But my last bold prediction: Leonard Fournette gets Rookie of the Year, rookie offensive Rookie of the Year.
Wait, I thought that Deshaun Kaiser was getting Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Hey, you can have multiple bold. That's not a bold prediction.
That was your bold prediction.
You can have multiple bold predictions, Hank. Okay. I'm just. Do you know what happens when you bet? You have to bet on a lot of different things.
How about one get offensive Rookie of the Year?
Why do I feel as if
one's going to be offensive player of the year
and
and one's going to be the other offensive player of the year?
No, I play prop bets.
They're going to be co-offensive rookies of the year.
I said it's a possibility that the Browns get the offensive and defense. It's more likely they get the defensive rookie of the year than they do the offensive. So that was my second part of a bold prediction. My other bold prediction for the Jacksonville Jaguars is that Leonard Fournette would get the rookie of the year. So I guess I had to clear it up a little bit.
I got a bold prediction. I got a bold prediction for Jacksonville.
Okay.
This might be crazy. They fired Doug Marrone after this year.
No.
I don't think they will. Well, here I don't think they will.
Bold.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if he can think the Jacksonville Jaguars can win the division, I mean, clearly I can have a bold prediction.
That's fine. And these bold predictions are mainly just hot takes at this point.
Oh my God. Okay, so me personally, I think they're gonna go 3-13 again, 4-12.
Wow!
You think they're gonna be that bad?
Oh,
yes. Let me tell you something. If you can't think who's gonna start between Chad Henne and Bortles, I guarantee you're probably not gonna win more than 4 games.
Here's the problem with my prediction. Now I have to say that they're gonna win over 10 games.
Oh my god!
I have a bold prediction.
See these bigs about these bold predictions.
Christian
the
McCaffrey will have a
Jacksonville-
better chance of getting Rookie of the Year than Leonard Fournette.
I have
see,
a
bold predictions. We're just doing it
I
right now,
have a
guys.
bold
These hot takes that you're hearing, these are just built up emotions that have been brewing in us for a long time,
Wait,
and we're finally trying to get them out.
guys, I have a bold prediction.
What's your bold prediction?
My bold prediction is that the Jacksonville Jaguars, after this season, they're gonna move to LA and become the LA Jaguars. Or better yet, they're gonna move
to Oakland.
They're gonna move to London, and they're
I
gonna
would
be
rather
the
them move
London.
to Oakland.
They're gonna be
To
the.
anybody who has just joined us here on the live stream, these are just very, very bold things that we were saying. That are not really going to happen, but if we're right, we should have bet a lot lot of money on these predictions. That's all it comes down to.
They're gonna move.
The Jaguars are not moving. If they move anywhere, the first place they move is going to be London.
They're gonna move to London and become the London Tubby Cats.
I just want this, guys, real quick. Here's a quick question just to end, and we're going to end on this question. The question is, does Colin Kaepernick sign with the Jacksonville Jaguars?
I'm going to say, I'll be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if they give him a call, but I don't see it.
I think they give him a call, but he declines.
Why?
Because he is, as much as this whole Colin Kaepernick situation, why hasn't he been the one to come out and say he wanted to have a job? There's so many other people fighting for him to have a job right now than him himself. When he doesn't have to go back on anything that he has said with his protest, all he has to do is says, yeah, I want to play football. My mind's on football right now. What's so wrong about that? And
That's not the wrong thing. No. The biggest deal, DJ, is the fact that Colin Kaepernick wants starter level money and wants to be a starter on one of the lower NFL teams. You really think I'm going to throw $10 million at Colin Kaepernick for a year or two, knowing how much he could produce? I'm not saying the dude is like. I'm not saying this guy isn't necessarily getting blackballed, but at the end of the day, this guy wants starter level money and wants to be the starter for a franchise. That's why he's not getting called.
There's one place that he can do that at, and that is Jacksonville.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Cleveland, but oh well. I mean,
wow, bro. You think I already said that it's not a dumpster fire in Cleveland, man? We got out of the dumpster, man. We're
Deshaun Kaiser. It's the Deshaun Kaiser.
No, listen. It's not a dumpster
man. What are you talking about?
It's not a dumpster fire. It's not necessarily. It's a greased fire now.
Oh, wow. You can say that all you want, man. You say that all you want.
I think last time I said they were going to go 4-12, 5-11, but don't be surprised if they do better. But anywho, all right, so guys, so that concludes this segment of our evaluations for the divisions. So I'm assuming, and I think we were talking about this earlier, tomorrow, are we guys cool with doing the draft for our podcast? Or no?
Yeah, so guys, whoever joined the draft, we're going to do our draft tomorrow, live draft, and we're going to be all here talking about...
Same time, 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern?
Oh, guys,
same time.
Guys, Kelly's not going to be there.
Oh, crap.
Well, then you have to draft for Kelly, it looks like. That's terrible. That's terrible.
She won't let him do that.
No, she won't let me do that. I did it last year because she had an injury. Fuck.
She can't do it at all tomorrow.
So, okay, guys, so the technical difficulty,
guys,
we might be scheduling the so-called two birds in a third draft.
Guys,
Sorry about that, guys. We had just found out that...
Hold on.
I'll let everyone know.
So you won't be home till 7:30, right?
Well, then let's do it later because I'm. Anyways, we can talk about this after.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay,
so whatever. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for the draft as well as the last 2 division previews. Or the last 4.
All right, guys. It was a pleasure talking to you guys. If you haven't gone to our Facebook page yet, please go to our Facebook page and like us. We're here on YouTube. We're here on SoundCloud. If you guys have any questions, please, the topics you want to talk about, give us a call. We're here.
Yeah, all right. Catch you guys later.
Catch you guys later, guys.